The necklace shattered against the hard school hallway floor with a sharp crack that seemed to stop time itself. Tiny silver pieces scattered across the polished tiles like broken memories. The locket that had rested over Kaelyn Hart's heart every single day since her mother's death spun in a circle before coming to a stop beneath a row of lockers. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Kaelyn dropped to her knees. Her trembling hands reached toward the fragments, but tears blurred her vision before she could even touch them. The crowd of students watching from both sides of the hallway stayed silent. And the three bullies standing in front of her laughed. They had no idea that the necklace they had just destroyed was the last gift her mother had ever given her. And they definitely had no idea what would happen next. Before we begin, if you believe kindness is stronger than cruelty and that everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Legacy for more emotional and inspiring stories. Kaelyn Hart was 16 years old and carried grief the way some people carried backpacks. It was always there, heavy, invisible to most people, but impossible for her to ignore. 2 years earlier, cancer had taken her mother after a long and painful battle. The loss changed everything. Her father worked long hours to support them, often leaving before sunrise and returning after dark. Their house felt quieter than it ever should have. Empty chairs at dinner, unused coffee mugs, family photographs that hurt to look at. The necklace was all Kaelyn had left. It wasn't expensive. The silver had faded in places, and the small heart-shaped locket had a tiny scratch across the front. But inside was a picture of her mother smiling on a summer afternoon beside a lake. Every morning before school, Kaelyn touched the necklace and remembered the promise she made at the hospital. She promised she would stay strong. What most students didn't know was that strength had become more than just a promise. After her mother's death, Kaelyn had struggled with anger and sadness. She felt helpless, lost. Then one day, her father enrolled her in a local martial arts academy. At first, she hated it. Every punch reminded her of frustration. Every training session left her exhausted. But over time, something changed. The instructors taught more than fighting. They taught discipline, patience, self-control, respect. Slowly, Kaelyn transformed. By 16, she had earned her black belt. She wasn't the strongest student in the academy, but she was one of the most disciplined. Her instructors always said the true purpose of martial arts wasn't learning how to hurt people. It was learning when not to. For nearly a year, Kaelyn endured constant harassment from 3 students at school. Trent Mercer was the leader. Tall, athletic, and popular, he enjoyed making other people feel small. His friends, Bryce and Nolan, followed him everywhere. Together, they turned bullying into entertainment. They mocked Kaelyn's quiet nature. They laughed at her thrift store clothes. They spread rumors. They knocked books from her hands. And every single time, Kaelyn walked away. She remembered her training, control, patience, discipline. The bullies interpreted her restraint as weakness. They couldn't have been more wrong. One bright spring afternoon, the school hallways buzzed with activity between classes. Students crowded around lockers. Teachers moved through the corridors. Sunlight streamed through the windows. Kaelyn was gathering books for her next class when Trent spotted the necklace around her neck. He had seen it before. This time, he decided to make it his target. The comments started first. Then came the laughter. Then the cruel questions about her mother. Kaelyn tried to leave, but Trent blocked her path. Students nearby sensed trouble and slowed down. The hallway became quieter. Kaelyn felt her pulse rising. She asked to be left alone. Instead, Trent grabbed the necklace. Everything happened in seconds. He yanked it hard. The chain snapped instantly. The locket flew through the air. It struck a locker, then hit the floor. The metal casing burst open. The photograph inside tore in half. Silence filled the hallway. Kaelyn stared at the ruined necklace. Something inside her broke too. Not her self-control, not her discipline, something deeper. The grief she had carried for years suddenly rushed back all at once. The hospital room, the final goodbye, the promise, the empty house, the lonely nights, every painful memory came crashing into the present. She knelt to gather the pieces. Then Bryce kicked one of the fragments farther down the hallway. The laughter started again, and that was when everything changed. Witnesses would later say they had never seen anyone move so fast. Kaelyn rose to her feet. Her face remained calm, her eyes remained focused, but years of martial arts training took over. When Bryce stepped forward with another mocking grin, Kaelyn reacted. A controlled defensive movement sent him stumbling backward into a row of lockers. The impact echoed through the hallway. Students gasped. Trent rushed forward. Kaelyn avoided him effortlessly. Momentum carried him into the floor. Nolan tried to grab her arm. She redirected his movement. He lost balance and crashed into a nearby bench. The entire confrontation lasted less than 20 seconds. Yet the damage was done. Bryce suffered a fractured wrist. Trent dislocated his shoulder. Nolan suffered a concussion after striking his head during the fall. All three ended up in the hospital. And suddenly, Kaelyn became the center of attention. By the next morning, the entire school knew. Some students called her a hero. Others called her dangerous. Videos filmed by witnesses spread across social media. The school administration launched an investigation. Kaelyn faced possible suspension. For the first time in years, she felt afraid. Not because of what happened. Because she feared she had failed her mother. The principal reviewed security footage. Teachers interviewed witnesses. Students submitted statements. The truth slowly emerged. Every witness described months of relentless bullying. Many admitted they had seen it happen repeatedly. Some confessed they wished they had spoken up sooner. The footage revealed something important. Kaelyn never initiated the confrontation. She never chased anyone. She never continued after the threat ended. Every action she took was defensive. Controlled. Measured. Exactly as she had been trained. Still, the attention overwhelmed her. One evening she sat alone in her room holding the repaired pieces of the necklace. A local jeweler had agreed to restore it. The photograph remained damaged. The tear through her mother's smiling face could never fully disappear. As she stared at the picture, tears filled her eyes. She wondered what her mother would think. Would she be disappointed? Would she understand? The next day brought an unexpected surprise. A teacher named Mrs. Calder approached her after class. Mrs. Calder had taught at the school for over 20 years. She had seen thousands of students come and go. She told Kaelyn something she would never forget. Sometimes standing up for yourself isn't violence. Sometimes it's courage. Those words stayed with her. Meanwhile, something surprising happened at the hospital. The bullies began hearing the full story. Parents learned about months of harassment. Video evidence spread beyond the school. Even some of Trent's closest friends admitted his behavior had gone too far. For the first time, the three boys were forced to confront the consequences of their actions. They couldn't laugh it away. They couldn't blame someone else. They couldn't hide behind popularity. They had hurt someone who was already carrying enormous pain. And everyone could see it. Weeks passed. The investigation concluded. Kaelyn would not be suspended. The school determined she acted in self-defense. The bullies received disciplinary action and mandatory counseling. But the story didn't end there. The real turning point came nearly 2 months later. By then, Trent had returned to school. His shoulder had healed. The confidence he once wore like armor was gone. Students noticed he seemed quieter. More thoughtful. One afternoon, Kaelyn sat alone beneath a large oak tree near the football field. Spring flowers swayed in the breeze. Birds chirped overhead. The world felt peaceful. Then a shadow appeared beside her. It was Trent. For several seconds, neither spoke. He looked uncomfortable, nervous, ashamed. Finally, he handed her something. A small velvet box. Inside rested a silver necklace. Not identical to the original, but beautifully crafted, custom made. On the back was a simple engraving. For Mom. Trent explained that he had learned about the necklace after the incident. He had learned about her mother's death. He had learned about the picture. And for the first time, he understood what he had destroyed. No excuse could change the past. No apology could erase the pain. But he wanted to try making things right. Kaelyn stared at the necklace. Part of her wanted to stay angry. Part of her remembered every cruel moment. Every insult. Every humiliation. Every tear. But another part remembered something her mother once taught her. People can change when they truly understand the damage they've caused. Forgiveness doesn't excuse behavior. It simply refuses to let hatred take permanent control. Kaelyn accepted the gift, not because Trent deserved immediate forgiveness, because she deserved peace. Over the following year, something remarkable happened. The bullying culture at school began changing. Students became more willing to report harassment. Teachers paid closer attention. Peer support groups formed. Conversations about kindness became more common. One courageous act had exposed a problem many people ignored. And once exposed, it became impossible to ignore any longer. Kaelyn eventually graduated near the top of her class. During the graduation ceremony, she wore both necklaces. The original repaired locket and the replacement Trent had given her. One represented loss, the other represented healing. As she crossed the stage, she looked into the crowd and saw her father standing proudly. Tears filled his eyes. For a brief moment, she imagined her mother sitting beside him, smiling, watching, proud of the strong young woman her daughter had become. Years later, Kaelyn would become a martial arts instructor herself. She taught children how to defend themselves. But more importantly, she taught them discipline, compassion, and restraint. She taught them that real strength isn't measured by how hard you can hit. It's measured by how much pain you can carry without becoming cruel. And every time a student asked about the old silver necklace she wore around her neck, she would touch the locket gently and remember the lesson that changed her life forever. Kindness may seem fragile, but kindness backed by courage is one of the strongest forces in the world. Before we finish, if this story touched your heart in any way, please take a moment to like the video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who believes people can change. Your support helps Kindness Legacy continue sharing stories that inspire hope and compassion. Special request. Comment below with the words, "Kindness is strength." If you believe standing up for yourself and showing compassion can exist together. Because sometimes the people who look the quietest are fighting the hardest battles. Sometimes the things we treasure most aren't worth much money, but they're worth an entire lifetime of memories. And sometimes, when kindness finally meets courage, even the deepest wounds can begin to heal.